Right then, Newcastle fans. Buckle up because today I've got 3 absolute crackers that are going to get your magpie heart racing. But hold on, there's no point skipping to the end of the video because I've saved the most important news to finish with a proper bang. Before that, you're going to find out about a potential surprise exit in the January transfer window and understand what's going on with that player everyone saw training but who won't be back on the pitch anytime soon. Look, if you skip any part of this video, you can be sure you'll miss crucial information about the team. So stick with me until the end because the last news story will leave your jaw on the floor, and it's exactly what's in the thumbnail and title. Let's crack on. News Story 1. Croft could be off in January. Right, let's start with a news story that's caught loads of people by surprise. You know that defender who's been at Newcastle since 2019 and has sort of become a reliable utility player in the squad? Well, Emil Croft might have his bags packed come January. Let me explain this story properly. Copenhagen, that massive Danish side playing in the Champions League, have got their eye on the Swede. And look, this isn't just any old team, we're talking Champions League here. Now you're probably wondering, but why would Croft leave? Well, let's look at the facts. This lad arrived at Newcastle over 5 years ago and, to be completely honest, his start was pretty rough. Back in the Steve Bruce days, he wasn't playing well and everyone thought he'd be sold sharpish. But then Eddie Howe came in and things changed completely. The manager managed to transform Croft into a super reliable backup. You know that type of player you can put on the pitch and sleep easy? Well, that's what he became. And the best bit, the lad never moaned about being a reserve. So much so that Newcastle have been renewing his contract year on year for the past 3 seasons. But here's the problem. This season, Croft has played just 61 minutes in the League Cup. That's right, 1 hour of football all season. For a bloke who's 31 and coming into the final stretch of his career, that can't be very encouraging, can it? His contract runs out in May next year, so if Newcastle want to get anything for selling him, January is the last chance. And there's another important detail. Copenhagen lost a defender called Rodrigo Huescas because of a serious knee injury. They need reinforcement and see Croft as the perfect solution. Now, here's a brilliant bit about Croft. Eddie Howe revealed that the players and one of the coaches gave him a nickname, Crafu. Know why? It's a reference to Cafu, that Brazilian right-back who's considered one of the best in history. Howe said that Croft is a brilliant professional, completely dependable, and that everyone who meets him ends up liking him. According to the manager, people on the outside don't give him the credit he deserves. Croft himself had given some proper emotional statements when he last renewed. He said he's absolutely delighted to continue at Newcastle, that the club and the city have become home for him and his family after all this time. Said he loves playing for Newcastle and wants to help the team finish the season in a positive way. So the question remains, will he swap the comfort of Newcastle, where he's liked and respected, for more playing time in Denmark? Only time will tell. But one thing's certain, if he does leave, he'll be missed in the dressing room. News Story 2, Lewis Hall and the left-back puzzle. Now let's talk about another problem that's giving Eddie Howe a headache, the fullback situation. And look, this isn't small potatoes. Lewis Hall is injured and will miss tonight's match against Tottenham in the League Cup. But the good news is he should be back pretty quickly, probably as soon as Sunday when Newcastle face West Ham in the Premier League. This is positive news because the team really needs him. Let me explain why this is so important. With Hall injured and unable to play, Eddie Howe has had to improvise. He's taken Dan Burn, who normally plays centre-back in the middle of defence, and put him at left-back. Not ideal, is it? Burn is a tall lad, a big unit, who works better in the middle of the back line. And the fullback situation is properly complicated. Of the players who are actually natural fullbacks, only Kieran Trippier and Emil Croft, the one I mentioned just now, are available. That's not much, far too little for a long season packed with matches. But there's an important detail about Hall's return. Eddie Howe made it clear that when he comes back, it'll be quick. There won't be any of that business of coming back gradually, training for a week and all that. As soon as is cleared by the medical department, he'll join the group and could even play. That's because his injury wasn't too serious and he hasn't been out for very long. Now, there's another player coming back from injury and his story is different, Yoane Wissa. This was that expensive summer signing, cost 55 million quid, but is also recovering from injury. The difference is that Wissa has been out longer, so his return will be more gradual. Howe explained that he'll need to do like a mini pre-season before getting back to playing. No point rushing it, got to do things properly so there's no risk of a setback. The manager didn't want to say exactly which match he'll be able to return for, but guaranteed that the recovery process is going well and on schedule. So to sum up, Hall's back soon and will help sort the fullback problem, at least temporarily. Wissa will need a few more weeks, but is on the right track. News Story 3, the truth about Tino Livramento's return. And now we've reached the moment you've been waiting for. The main news story, the one that's in the thumbnail and that every Newcastle fan wants to know, what's going on with Tino Livramento. Last week those photos of him training at the Benton training ground came out, and everyone went mental, didn't they? People were already thinking he'd be back ahead of schedule, that everything was sorted. But steady on, let's take it easy because I'm going to tell you the actual truth. First, let me refresh your memory. It's been a month since Livramento injured his knee in that 2-1 defeat to Arsenal at St. James Park. It was a horrible scene, the lad who's only 22 being stretchered off the pitch. And look, everyone had that sinking feeling because he'd already suffered a really serious knee injury when he was playing at Southampton. It was an ACL injury, the type that keeps a player out for a whole year. So when he went down in the Arsenal match, the atmosphere was awful. Everyone thinking, has it happened again? But then came that news that relieved everyone. After the scans, they discovered it wasn't anything that serious. Eddie Howe said he'd be out for 6 to 8 weeks, which is much better than being out for months and months. At the time, the manager said that maybe in the second international break he could return. And that made everyone feel better, because it could have been much, much worse. Then this week Livramento himself started giving little hints on social media. He posted a photo of himself playing for Newcastle with that hourglass emoji, you know? Like saying, look, the wait is almost over. And then that image appeared of him on the grass at the training ground, already stepping on the turf. Everyone went mad. People started speculating. Will he be back earlier than expected? Is the recovery going that well? And it was exactly this question they asked Eddie Howe. And now comes the part you need to pay really close attention to. Eddie Howe made it crystal clear. No, Livramento won't be back earlier than expected. He's still on that original timeline of 6 to 8 weeks. The date penciled in the calendar is the match against Manchester City on the 22nd of November, which is the Saturday right after the November international break. The manager explained that this 2-week break for internationals ends up delaying the return because there's no way to bring that time forward. So even though the recovery is going really well, and it is, he won't skip those steps. But look, there's a really positive side to all this. Howe said that Livramento is feeling really good, hasn't had any adverse reaction to the injury, no complications. The signs are all positive. Is following the schedule properly, no rush but no pause either. And you know what's brilliant? The manager said this not just about Livramento, but also about Lewis Hall and Yoane Wissa. All three are on the right track, each in their own recovery time. It's like a production line of players coming back, each on a different conveyor belt, but all arriving at the destination. So look here, if you saw those photos and got excited thinking he'd play next week, unfortunately it's not quite like that. But the news is still good. He's recovering properly, and in approximately 3.5 weeks he should be back on the pitch. It's important for us to understand that with injuries you can't rush things. Especially considering that Livramento has already been through that horrible ACL injury. The doctors and the coaching staff have to be super careful to ensure that when he comes back, he's back at 100%. Nobody wants to see him getting injured again because of a rushed return. And let's be honest, after the scare of seeing him stretch it off against Arsenal, knowing he's back in November is already a massive relief. It could have been the end of his season, or even worse. So even though we have to wait a little bit longer, it's well worth it. Does the team need him? Of course it does. As I mentioned before, the options at fullback are thin on the ground. Trippier is carrying the piano on the right side, Bowen having to improvise on the left. Having Livramento back will give the squad a massive breather. But while that doesn't happen, it's about supporting them, being patient and trusting in the work of the professionals. Eddie Howe has shown he knows how to look after the players really well, both on and off the pitch. And Livramento, from what we see on his social media, is focused and excited to return. So then, did you enjoy getting the full lowdown on everything that's happening at Newcastle? I told you it was worth watching until the end. Now you're completely up to date on the 3 most important news stories of the day. Quick recap, Krafth could be off to Copenhagen in January, Lewis Hall is back soon and Yoane Wissa is recovering gradually, and the news that was in the thumbnail, Livramento is doing well but won't be back until the City match at the end of November. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any Newcastle United news. Leave a comment below telling me which of these 3 news stories made you most worried or excited. I read all the comments and love having a chat with you lot. And stay tuned because there's a new video every day here on the channel with everything about Newcastle and the world of football. Until the next video, and ho-e the lads.